Welcome to Grey Primer, a weekly show that's mostly about miniatures. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and in this episode, it's a beautiful day for Blood Bowl. To celebrate the release of Blood Bowl's second season, I figured I would dig into the archives and find something relevant to Blood Bowl's second edition, and came up with something that's 31 years old. Blood Bowl Star Players was released as an expansion book to the second edition of Blood Bowl, which had come out in 1988, a year before, and when this arrived, it expanded the game massively. Star Players, mutations, other races. I'm sure every single rule has changed in Blood Bowl from 89 through to 2020, but I think that the descriptions of the races, the lore, the artwork in here is still going to be fun to look at and go through, and maybe there'll be a little bit of nostalgia for you tucked away in there. Let's have a look. So here it is, 31-year-old Blood Bowl Star Players book. And I think it still looks fantastic on the front cover. It's signed as Fangorn. That was one of my favorite cover artists from Games Workshop from back in the day. Like the Fantasy Miniatures book that came out after one of the Golden Demon Awards. And then I think they used the image on the front of one of the paint sets as well. And it's just, that was Fangorn. I think it's just fantastic art. So here we have, it's a hardback book. It's got that sort of semi-gloss feel to it. It's branded Games Workshop on the side there. I don't know what the 273 refers to, but it is just beautiful. The red text against the yellow background looks really well. And the book is weathered quite well. I mean, I've had this, I bought this in 1989 and it's fine. I do tend to look after my stuff, but as you can see here, shows some cool images from Blood Bowl. Man, I used to lap these up because Blood Bowl didn't get talked about a huge amount in White Dwarf. And any time a publication came out with images of different teams and stuff, I just absolutely loved it. You've got the big old printed in the UK here, Games Workshop's branding, their two addresses in Baltimore, Maryland, and then in Eastwood, Nottingham. And then over here we've got the copyright 1989. Star Players is not a complete game. Possession of Blood Bowl is essential to use the contents of this supplement. So here we go, opens up onto that. You can just about see it, that really cool astrogranite pitch, sort of done in this sort of pale blue. So here we go, Jervis Johnson and Paul Cockburn as the authors. Now we've got Pete Nifton, or Knifton, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Additional art from Ali Morrison, and then cover art from Fangorn. And then it breaks down all of the copyright stuff and then goes into the contents here. I like these little sort of page numbers within that double skull that you get on the astrogranite pitch. It's a nice touch. And then we get some more of this fantastic... Okay, I'm not going to mispronounce Pete's name the whole way through this, so I'm going to guess that it's Nifton. That's where I'm going to go with. But he signs everything PK, so I'm going to call it PK. But this is classic PK Blood Bowl art, and for me this is what sort of drew me in. Like, look at this piece of art here. Look how much fun there is in there, apart from the guy who's just been decapitated, but even the rendition of the crowd in the background is these kind of little, semicircles, and you get little bits of like a banner or something being held up here, and I think that's really neat. And you get like a crutch here and a club with a spike through it, and then a bit of the crowd here, so you're seeing this carnage from the crowd, and I just love that so much. And it was just images like these that brought me into Blood Bowl back in the day. I was just like blown away by the scenes that PK was able to create. And then we're into the new game rules. And kind of the interesting thing about the Star Players book was a lot of these rules were actually printed in White Dwarf. So it wasn't like it was just exclusive to this book. Sure, the book gave you everything together. And there were probably parts of the book that never made it to the pages of White Dwarf. But I do remember issue after issue there being, like the large monsters rules. Or, the getting away with it rules for when you're fouling. That I think are all in here. But I do remember that clearly. Didn't matter to me that it was doubled up because I was still going to buy everything that had Blood Bowl on it.
And it talks about actually that using the star player cards. And this book, you can just see here these little pieces of card at the back. That actually came with all of the star player cards attached, and you were able just to take them off there was like a heavier card stock, and it was all perforated, and you just sort of tore it out of the back of this. And they included all the fantastic stats of the various star players that are available for the different teams in here. And it goes through a few of these. I mean, this is all part of the sort of the new rules. We've got like freebooter cards with another cracking piece of art here showing freebooters being hired in some pub by some team owner, which I think that's really nice bit of art. It just shows you all these races just standing beside each other, all united for the love of the game and the love of earning a few credits by playing for some random team. Campaign games, and then into injuries, and some really cracker PK images here, like this absolutely stunned orc not knowing where he is. Is that an orc and ogre? I think that's an orc. He's holding his teddy bear and his lollipop there, and yeah, clearly had a bit of impromptu brain surgery happen there to get him back in one piece. And then you've got this medic, putting like a little bandage on somebody's owie finger when clearly they have much more serious injuries. And this is going to take forever because of all this fantastic art from Pete, but look at this goblin down here clinging onto the ball while this absolute humongous pile of orcs, and there's humans in there as well, I'm not sure. Maybe dark elves going by this helmet. It's just like a massive bundle, and this little dude is just like, oh, I'm fine. I got this. And then into the generation system of how to actually make your own star players just by using the blank star player cards that came with this book, and D66, and to generate the star player that you want by random means. Or I suppose you could just like grab a name from the thing here, and skills and stuff like that, and positionals and all, and build it whatever way you want it. You could even draw a picture of them on the little blank card. Then we get into the various skills that you can assign to them, and then into the skill descriptions, and some really lovely art here as well. I think some of this art does appear in other sort of Blood Bowl publications, such as like the original rule book or the lore book. I can't remember what that was called, from the second edition. But there are a few new bits here for sure as well. Look at this poor halfling with the ogre all about to squish the rest of his day. I love this pylon with the one dark elf at the bottom, and then it looks like an entire dwarf team on top, including a chainsaw. And then here you've got some of the much more detailed descriptions of races that perhaps wouldn't have been in the original rulebook, with all of their special rules, like dwarfs and elves. And there's some really nice little did you know snippets here. I hope that's in the new rulebook as well. Dark elves, the sort of facts about it, the cheerleader song. I just think this stuff is so cool. Into goblins and their playbook here, like crump their throwers, thump their catchers, keep well clear of geezers and lots of armor, kill them zogging noisy humans in the crowd, and nick all their stuff. Go goblins. Less comedic halflings here, less of the sort of playful, almost sort of touching into that Lord of the Rings kind of look halflings these. While they have very hobbity, hairy, big feet, everything else about them is much more warlike and down to the business of eating or fighting. I think I do prefer the new halflings, that they're no less serious about the game they're playing, but their miniatures are much more interesting than these. And then into sort of skeletons and more of these fantastic did you know facts, mummy characteristics. We got Skaven and Slan. What's the Lustria Croakers team chant? You think you're smart, you think you're whiz. Well, just remember whose planet this is. Indeed. Sure about the formatting of this box, though. Maybe they were planning on there being an image in here, but they forgot. Norse teams. And it's great to see actually Norse being mentioned in the downloadable PDF for the new rules. If you haven't checked that out, go on to our Warhammer community. You'll be able to go download that. I think they also have like Amazon, vampires, others that I'm missing. Oh, Chaos Dwarfs, yeah. And then we're into a dedicated bit on werewolves, and this is very much torn straight from American Werewolf in London, this image, their sort of version of it. I love this image of this one. It looks like he's just stolen the ball and has run away with it. But great to have the different rules there. They have rules on transformation as well, which is fantastic. Chaos humans with the brilliant image of one of the greater demons of Nurgle, or maybe Papa Nurgle himself sitting up in the crowd there. That is just tremendous. And I love how creepy all of the chaos ones are in amongst there, just like sort of shadow creatures. That's cool. And then, like I just said there before, we got Chaos Dwarfs here. And then something I found really interesting the first time I read this, but I mean, like, full disclosure, when I first got this book, the entire thing was the most interesting thing I'd ever read in my existence. So, take what I say with a pinch of salt. But I did really enjoy the Mutants section. And it has this, again, much like this sort of Star Players creation, you've got this mutation table for creating custom mutated chaos players. And you get special mutations here, which is fantastic, like temporal instability, spontaneous combustion. I love this stuff. And then some really interesting stuff on mixed race teams here. And again, great art throughout. I love this image. I think this was in the second edition documentation somewhere, but it's a really cool sort of depiction of, I think it's the Chaos All-Stars actually, that image was originally planned for, with you got a Minotaur and a Troll and Morgs, I think his name is. Random sort of chaos creatures and goblins and slan there and stuff. But a really nice bit of art, and I think there's more to that as well. I like the Frank N. Stein one over there too. Then we're into the really interesting large monster rules. Large monsters were on a 40mm square base rather than the 25mm that was traditional for the Blood Bowl 2nd edition. And why I liked it was because it cost you one movement to turn, as you can see here. And it actually mattered what way you were facing. And they even created a special scatter, which rather than the normal D8, it was a D12, because you had those extra spaces around that larger base, because you took up 4 spaces rather than 1. Instructions here for throwing teammates. And then we're into dedicated pages for the likes of ogres and trolls, minotaurs, and then the wonderful snotlings. It's great that they have a page in here between minotaurs and tree men. It's like just snotlings. And then great stuff here, which I always love about famous teams. And you've got veterans, fans, cheerleaders, campaigns. And then here it is. Like, this is just, for me, back then, this was absolute gold. I loved reading about the teams. I loved reading about their players, about their history, about the types of fans they had. It just engulfed me in the lore. Elfheim Eagles, the Chaos All-Stars, and some of these names even sort of persist to today. They keep popping up, like Valen Swift, Griff Oberwald here, Vara Gulchuer. So both of these characters here, the number 1 players within the Gouged Eye and the Reichland Reavers, are in the new edition. They've popped up in brand new teams. So they've been around for a long time as well. And then what else have we got? We got the Dwarf Giants, the Darkside Cowboys, and these are the teams that when you're looking back through the lore of Blood Bowl, they've won quite a few championships between them. And again, some fantastic art. And then it breaks it down into, again, every single individual name for all the players, which is great. Not necessarily connected to star players at all, but I think just Blood Bowl taking the opportunity with this hardback book to throw in some bonus lore. And then we sort of wrap it up with the Star Player Generation summary sheet, the skills tables, and into the skill reference sheets. And then after that was just sort of those tear out pieces of card. Significantly fewer skills than are in the current game. You can get it onto 2 pages here. I'm not quite sure how many pages the newer version takes up. But a great book, some fantastic nostalgia in there, some absolutely incredible art. And it just brings me right back to a time when This version of Blood Bowl was my entire world. It is great to have a new version of Blood Bowl coming out at the end of November. I can't wait for my copy to arrive. I will, of course, be doing an unboxing, and I'll be looking at all of the components and getting them all built and get them onto the big screen for you. Lots to look forward to from Blood Bowl Season 2, especially when the screen here is full of Blood Bowl 2nd Edition. Thanks for joining me and going through a little bit of nostalgia. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you the next time. Take care. Bye-bye.